So this is sort of a continuation from the tutorial number 2. I've built out all the folders that I think I will need for this particular course, give or take. And remember that students will not see this content management area. The other thing I want to show you is this, that if I go in to view it as a student, this is all they're going to see right now. So what happened to all the other folders that I created? Well, Blackboard will not show an empty folder. And right now, those folders are pretty much empty. I haven't put any content in them, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So right now, the students can only see up through the discussion board that we created in the last tutorial. But the reality is that those empty folders are still there, and so we can still work with them in the instructor view, as you can see. So before we actually go into putting activities, graded activities into these folders, or exams or PowerPoints or anything like that, it's important that we go ahead and set up the categories for our grade book. Now, we're not going to totally set up that grade book. We're just going to create the categories. And the reason why that's important is as we're creating these activities, Blackboard's going to ask us which category. Well, if there are no categories, guess what? You're going to have to go back later and do that again. So let's just go ahead and take care of the categories. I happen to have the categories here that we need to go ahead and complete for this particular course. So we're going to come back to that in just a second. The Grade Center is where you're wanting to go, and you want to go to the Full Grade Center. And when you click on that, you mouse over the Manage button and you see categories. So we need to just go ahead, and we're not even going to assign the percentages yet, but we are going to go ahead and create the categories and give them names. Okay, so notice that when you click on the categories, these are some that are provided from Blackboard, and they cannot be deleted. But what we're going to do is add hours. And remember that if there's nothing in a category, Blackboard is going to ignore it anyway. Students will never see anything that's empty. So what we're going to do, let me go back to the original document. The first category we're going to create is a category for chapter exams. So I'm going to click Create Category, Chapter Exams, and I'm going to submit that, and notice that you see it now. The next category is a bookwork. It's either homework or bookwork. I'm going to select to call it bookwork in this case. We're going to create that category. Oops, and I think I closed down my Word document. Okay, I got it back open now. And the next one it's called benchmark assignments. So I'm going to create one. This is benchmark assignments. I'm just going to say benchmark so that it doesn't make the column too big. That's 3. The next one, let me see if I can pull it over, is the midterm and then a final. So 2 remaining categories. There's your midterm. And here's the final. Again, we have not assigned any percentages to these. Notice the ones that Blackboard that comes with, you can't delete them or do anything with those. But the ones that you create, you do have some options. Okay, that's all we have for the categories. I'm going to click OK. You have an OK button at the top and the bottom. And we now have those categories. Now we've created those categories, and it's time to assign those percentages to them. What we're going to do is we're going to create a weighted column. And we're going to create a weighted column for every one of these categories that we've created. And I will remind you of what they are. The first one is going to be chapter exams. I'm going to scroll down. And so down here are the ones that, the categories that you've created. Here's chapter exams, and we're going to move this over. If you were selecting something at the top, you would select that one, but since we're selecting something on the bottom, we select this arrow. And according to the rubric on the syllabus, chapter exams are worth 25%. So I'm going to say 25%. The next item is bookwork, and that's 10%, and then benchmark for 10%. Those are the next two. So I'm going to say bookwork, which is 10%, and I'm going to say benchmark, because this was the next one, and it's going to be 10%. Now let's see what the next one is. Midterm at 25. These are the categories that we just created earlier. Let's find, where did it put the midterm? There it is, at 25. There's no rhyme or reason unless it's doing it alphabetically. Okay, and the final exam is 30. You're just going to have to trust me on that. Final exam is 30. There it is. 30. So we have all of our categories, and now we have these weighted columns that align with the rubric on our syllabus for the final grade. That's good. Calculate as a running total. Yes, you're going to have lots and lots of options. Include this column in the grade center calculations. Yes. Show it to students. Well, you have a choice. You can either show them how they're doing on their midterm, or how they did overall, or not. I'm just going to say no. I'm going to say no. And the one that you can't see says show statistics to the students. I'm going to say no. Anyway, I'm going to click submit, and now we have these columns. They're weighted columns, and trust me that they are there. You can't see them, but they are there. Okay, this video picks up after we've created the folders to align with the way our old Angel course looked, if that's indeed what we wanted to do. And we're getting ready to put content inside of these content areas. I keep referring to them as folders, but they're really content areas. But they act like folders. They hold different types of content. For instance, when you click on the Lesson 1, Chapter 1 and 2, students will see the content associated with that. When you click on Lesson 2, students will see the content associated with that. But we're going to talk about how to add content. So let's think about the types of content that you might want to add. You might want to add some PowerPoint files that students might view. You might want to add some Microsoft Word documents or PDF documents that students might view. Things that students view, not necessarily interact with, they're going to be found under Build Content. So students just pretty much read this stuff. They don't have to really do anything themselves other than read it or look at it. See, here you see an item or a file or an audio or an image, or if you're going to put a hyperlink to a video, these kinds of things. Students are just required to look at them, read them, or view them. Now, the items that students are supposed to do something with, like interact with a test or interact with a Dropbox, these types of things fall under the assessments area. Now, every time you see the word assignment, go ahead and associate that with Dropbox. Assignment in Blackboard is the same as the Angel Dropbox. So, once again, every time you see the word assignment, associate that with Dropbox. So let's say that for the purposes of this course, we're in Lesson 1, Chapters 1 and 2. I'm going to upload just a file that I want them to preview. I have no idea what I'm going to put there, but hey, that's okay. This is because they're going to be looking at files and not, in this case, and not necessarily interacting with this item. I'm looking for just something to upload here. Okay. It's not going to go in the grade book. This particular item is not going to go in the grade book. So I'm uploading a document called Assignments and Categories. I'm going to say go ahead and open that in a new window. And viewers will be able to view it. You may or may not want to track how many times it's viewed or who views it. There's no due date associated with something that they view, but if you only want them to view it for a certain period of time, you can put a before and after deadline. I'm going to click submit, which is at the bottom. It's outside of your screen. After I click submit, that item can be found. This is how you would upload a PowerPoint if you wanted them to view a PowerPoint slide or file. Let's say I wanted to put a Dropbox in there. Remember that the word assignment is the same. I'm going to call this Chapter 1 Dropbox, and I'll give them very clear instructions here on what my expectations are. If you want them to view a file associated with that, you can always upload one here. It is a Dropbox, so it can be a graded assignment, and you'll want to assign that a due date so that it will show up on the calendar. We'll look at that in just a minute. Total number of points possible is 100 in this case. Let's take a look at just a few of the items that we can set with regards to how this looks or how I want it to display for students. I want it to display as a percentage based on 100. I'm going to make it available. I'm not going to limit, and I think I will track the number of views on this one. The submit button is below the fold, so you can't see that. So now we have a file that I uploaded that I want them to view, and then we have a Dropbox where I want them to do an assignment and upload that Dropbox. The next thing I'm going to put in here is I'm going to give them an exam, and I've already created the exam. That's another video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the exam that I want to go here, and I'm going to click submit. And you have all kinds of questions. Do you want to make the link available? Do you want to put an announcement on the home page to let them know it's available and where to locate it? Do you want them to have multiple attempts? Do you want to make them click the submit button once they start so they can't save it and come back? Do you want to password protect it? These are all options that were available under Angel as well. Let's go ahead and give it a due date. I'm going to give it a due date of the 5th. And I'm just kind of deciding. You have all these questions that you need to ask yourself before you click the submit button, but you can always go back and edit it. So for lesson 1, chapters 1 and 2, so far we have uploaded a file, we've provided them with a Dropbox, and we provided the students with an exam. I'm going to go into lesson 2, and I've already uploaded this guy, which is an assignment. It's a Dropbox. I'm going to upload, let's say, a PowerPoint file just for the heck of it. I'm going to say chapter 3 PowerPoint. And I have to go find it. I don't know where to find one, but you never know. Let's just pretend that this is a PowerPoint file. Open in a new window, yes. Permit them to view it, yes. I don't really want to track it. I'm going to click submit. So now they have a Dropbox and they have a PowerPoint file to look at. In your labeling, if you want to go back and edit, you simply click the arrow, go in. In your labeling, be sure and say what it is. Like, for instance, Dropbox. That way the students will know what the expectations are before they go in. So we have a Dropbox for them to participate with. We have a PowerPoint for them to participate with. And I'm going to go ahead and add another test. I'm going to click submit. I have already created the tests. And I have all these options again available to me. I am going to give it a due date. I'm going to give this a due date of the 7th. And I will consider all this other stuff, and then I'm going to press the go button. So now I have a file in the first lesson, I have a Dropbox, and I have an exam. Under lesson 2, I have a Dropbox first, I have a PowerPoint file, and then I have an exam. So these are the content items, the items that we have built so far. And I think we have enough to play with when it comes to assigning them to the gradebook. Now, when we're going to go look at the gradebook, but this is not how to build your gradebook. This is simply how to connect things under the lessons area. things that you want students to interact with, how to connect those graded items to the grade book really quickly, since we're talking about creating these items. Now, to make sure that they are added to the grade book, I clicked on Full Grade Center, and that brought me here. And if I have created these things that are going to be part of the grading process, then you're going to see we had 2 drop boxes and we had 2 exams, but they're not associated with the categories yet. To the right of each item is a drop down arrow. Notice what it says. Click for more options. I'm going to go to Edit Column Information. When I do that, it will give me the opportunity to put this wherever it needs to go. What I'm going to say is I'm going to say that this drop box is part of the bookwork column and it's worth 100 points. And again, below the fold is the submit button. I'm selecting that. Here's another drop box that's going to be calculated with the bookwork items. So I'm going to pull this guy up. By default, it's on the first one, which is assignment, and I'm going to say, nope, it belongs with the bookwork category. I'm going to scroll down and click the submit button. Now I have 2 tests. Hopefully you'll label yours a little bit better than I labeled mine. I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to make sure that this, it picked up on the word test, so it's going, actually my test column was chapter exams column. I'm not going to use the Blackboard test column. I'm going to click submit. And here's another exam that's part of the chapter exams. I'm going to go to edit the column information, scroll down, and I want it to be calculated as part of my chapter exams column. I'm going to click the submit button. So what we've done is we've created the folders on the left hand side. I've shown you how to put stuff inside these content areas or folder areas. And now we've come back to the Grade Center using the arrow right next to each of these assignments. I've shown you how to put them in the correct category so that the final grade for the student is calculated appropriately. There is another tutorial on how to build a grade book from beginning to end.